Let's take a first look at creating files on your Google Drive. So from a browser, hopefully Chrome, let's go to drive.google.com. If you've been there already, something like it will pop up. If you just get drive.google, I suspect it will complete the address for you. My Google Drive page will look different than yours. My previous files that I didn't want to delete, I've now hidden away in 3 folders, and I certainly hope that you will also start creating folders on Google Drive so that you keep all of your files in some easy to find order. But very quickly, I just want to talk about making some files, and you can delete them later. So we're just going to do some sample files and talk a little bit about what we can do with Google. I think the first reason that many students want to use Google is simply for cloud storage. You can create files and Google finds a space to save those files. And of course, because your Google Drive simply needs, you just need access to the internet to get to Google Drive. So that cloud storage is quite a nice feature from any place, any computer. As long as you have internet access, you can go to your Google Drive and you will have a list of all of your files. Now, Google will give you 5 gigabytes of free memory. And then after that, of course, you would have to pay to create a larger account. Okay, so let's just quickly look at some of the types of files that we can create in Google. Of course, we're not limited to these. You could upload, for example, an MP3 file to Google Drive. There just is not an application to play that MP3. But if you just wanted to use it for storage, and then when you go somewhere else and get on a different computer, then you could download that MP3. But most of us, I think, our first impression of Google is that we're going to use the Google applications that are already there. So let's take a look at what those are. A document. So let's do the Create button and choose Document. And you can follow along and do this again in your own Google Drive. And it would be, we can just start typing. We have an untitled document. Remember that Google Drive starts saving automatically. So the smarter thing to do here before you start typing would be to click on the, or go up to the untitled document and click, and it will give you a rename dialog box. So let's call this sample Word file 1. And you could call it whatever you wanted to, quite frankly. And when I click OK, and then if I type some text here, so I'll just say sample text, learn the features of a Google Doc or Google Document. So doc short for document. And let me just do a couple of things here. You can teach yourself how to use the features of Google Doc, but now that you've seen some icons, you know, if you know how to do word processing in one file or one application, you can quickly reteach yourself in others. So boldface, and we'll go with a larger print, and you can see what fonts are available to you. Not as many as were loaded at Marquette High in Microsoft Word, but enough choices so you could choose that. And here's your color pull down for colors that are built in, so some web colors. And of course you could change each of these how you would like, so Times New Roman. And we could all of the features. So if we wanted to have this to be a link to a document, here's our icon for inserting a link. Here are our icons for justification. if you hover. So this is the one feature that we'll come back to, inserting a comment. A comment is not actually part of our document, so let's just click that so you can see what inserting a comment is. And it's going a little bit off my window here. Let's see if I can get a little bit more space and still be in my video. So it gives me, this is what's currently on as my Google profile picture. And if there are 10 of us editing a document, you should say, we could improve this. So a comment is something about the document, not actually part of the document. So I had the word Google highlighted, so it gives this comment to that place in the document. Okay? If I click on the comment, then it goes back and highlights. Once we've resolved this whole thing, then we can get rid of that comment. So that's the one feature that's quite a bit different in Google than it would be in Microsoft Word, is Google is thinking that we're probably going to share this file with someone else, but I don't need to do that. So I need not click this share icon. If I never share the file with anyone else, then you'll see if I hover, it's private only to me. And I'm constantly looking for the file menu to see how to save, but I don't have to. Google is doing this automatic save. So notice that my drive is still here on the previous tab, and this, every time I create a document, it opens a new tab. So I'm happy with this right now. Of course, we would add more to such a document, but let's just click on the close. So you've created a document, and look at where it shows up in your Drive folder. And I can click and drag it into one of my other folders, but you might not have folders yet, so we'll just leave it where it is. So that sample Word file, and the icons you'll get used to seeing, this is the icon for a Google Doc. And if you click on the Create button, you can see the icons. So you'll get used to that blue for document. And then we could go and create another. Let's do a different type as long as we're at this Create button. Let's create a presentation, meaning a slideshow presentation. So the same types of things that you guys knew very well how to do with PowerPoint. So I suspect many of you maybe have already done Google presentations, and you should recognize this theme. We used that already for our welcome theme. So if I pick any theme here, I double clicked so it went right to create. And again, before I do anything else, I actually should get in good habits here before I do anything else to give it a name. Otherwise, you're going to have a whole list of untitled, 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 and it'll be very hard for you to identify your files. So click on the title and give it a name. So this is going to be Sample 2 Presentation. You can, of course, give it any unique name. And I'm going to click OK. And then this is, I can experiment with this as much as I want to. So this is slide 1 and subtitle, Learning Google Presentations. And we'll be able to come back and investigate how to add animations and so on. But I bet you would figure out the buttons and the menus pretty quickly. So we could insert an image or a link or a video or word art or shapes or animations. So you'll be able to find things pretty quickly as you go through Google presentations. And if I click over here, new slide, with what layout, so I did the pull down menu so I could get a different, so again there's slide masters involved here, and you can go change the slide masters like you could. So this is going to be slide 2 and so on. And I don't have to save. I can come back and work on this at any point. So if I just close this and go back to our drive, you can see that now we've just created 2 different files, and they're being saved in the cloud. So Google is saving these files for us. looking at the Create menu, we can create a spreadsheet. So let's look at one more here, and let's see if some of the things that we knew were available in Excel still work. So if I put 2 and 5 and I highlight those two, does it do the same thing? So you can see that it's repeating a series, adding 3 to each term. You can see that you've got your formatting options. We've got borders here, so let's select a few of these cells, but not all of them. And we could do borders all around. We could just do top or bottom borders of these. So all of the formatting features are a little bit different. We got a feature to insert charts. Comments, again, is the one thing that's a little bit different. Adding a comment is something we didn't practice in Microsoft Office. Comments are little tags that you put in it separate from your file content. So you could think of it as if you put a sticky note on top of a sheet of paper with a comment to yourself about what you needed to fix on your assignment. So that's kind of the idea of a comment. It's a little extra note, but it's not actually part of the file itself. Okay, so coming back, we can come back and learn more about each of these options, but I wanted to have some idea of how Google Drive works for those of you who perhaps have never created any, used any Google applications. So we've now used the Documents application, the Presentation application, and the Spreadsheet application, and all of our files. We created 3 new files. Oh, and here, look at, I have an untitled spreadsheet, exactly what I told you not to do. Let's see if I can click here. I did a right click, and not surprisingly, here's an option to rename that file. And there, I should have done this right away. Let's call this Sample 3 Spreadsheet. So again, teaching by bad example. But I guess you saw the problem would be if we hadn't named them, we would have had untitled, untitled, untitled. You would have been able to see the times that you created them, and you would have seen that one was a Word file and one was presentation and one was spreadsheet. So you would see the icons were different, but you wouldn't want to have too many files that were all called untitled. So getting in the habit of naming them. Okay, now once you create 10 different files, can you see the advantage of making sure that you drag them into folders or save them into folders? So I had 3 folders. I really don't use my Google Drive very much, but now that I'm teaching a computer science course, I suspect we'll use that a lot more. The next thing I'm going to say in this video, we're not going to do too much more here, but we can navigate. So if I click on this triangle, you can see my folders here, and you can actually see that there's another nested folder inside of this previous files folder. So you'll be able to have folders inside of folders, and you'll be able to see them here under My Drive. And we can also see our folders over here at the top level. There's a couple things I could still show you before we move on. Google, by the way, is such an active company, and things change very often. So if you watch tutorial videos like mine, or some that you find on YouTube, you're going to see features in Google and you're going to say, I can't find that on the window. Well, tomorrow we could come back and go to look at our Google Drives, and the window might have changed. So you have to be prepared for that the appearance and the features are going to change regularly. Okay, this icon right here says Details and Activity. So you don't have to memorize. You can hover over these buttons. Let's see what Activity does. It opens a pane in the window. And it actually keeps track of activity for today. So it is recording what you've been working on, and it tells you a little bit about each of those. So we can close that pane. We don't need to see that. And then one more thing here. It says that this folder, name Computer Science, is a shared folder. And let me see what's inside that Computer Science folder. If I click on it, there's our Welcome to Computer Science presentation. So when you looked at your drive, did you happen to see a Computer Science folder already there? If so, open it and see if you can see the Welcome to Computer Science file. Why would you be able to see that? You would be able to see that because I set up this folder as a shared folder, and I put my students' Gmail accounts in, so I shared this folder with all of you. So we'll be able to, anything you store in that folder, I will be able to see. Anything I put in that folder, you will be able to see. So we have to talk about how we share files. If we completely share them, then we can all edit them, which sometimes you want to let someone look at a file but not edit it. So those are all sharing options, and all of those different levels are available to us. So I'm going to go to this Computer Science folder, and if I choose Create a document, it says, do you really want to create it in the shared folder? So to make sure that I realize that it's going to have sharing, you all have sharing permissions. So yep, that's what I meant to do. So I'm going to do Create and Share, and I chose document, a Word document. So I'm going to call this Sample 4, a shared document. And as long as I type that, I'm going to do Control-C to copy it to the clipboard, and then I'm going to do Control-V to paste it in, and I'll paste it in here a few times so that you can see what we've got here. Just to make the point about editing again, this is a shared document, so you will be able to open this file, and you will be able to edit it. And as you are editing this file, perhaps someone else in the class will also have this file be opened, and they might be editing. So you might be able to see several changes happening at once, which can make a collaborative document a little confusing to work with. So we will try that as you open, not create, but as you open a previous file, several of your collaborators could be working on it at the same time. It might take a little bit more discussion before this is all very clear to you. Again, I know some students have had a lot of experience with Google Drive, and for some of you this might be quite new. So I'm just going to close that file, and now you can see that we're in the Computer Science folder, and now there are 2 files in the Computer Science folder. When I go back to click on My Drive, then remember that I had 3 previous folders and the 3 samples. So now I could click and drag these 3 samples into one of these other folders if I said, oh, I really should put that in a better place. So you can always manage the folders and click and drag, and when you get to an experimental or a trial file that you don't need to keep, oops, I didn't mean to actually click on that. It opened another window. If I choose, I can, if I have this checked, I can go to this garbage can icon. You're used to seeing that. So that would remove the file from the list. So experiment as much as you wish, and then you can remove, you can move them to folders. So there's always more than one way to do some of these as well. Okay. And you can also then, what we have left to learn is once you create a file, how do you share it with someone? And all you really need to know is their Gmail address. And we'll be working on that in separate assignments.